We'd like to welcome you once again to Saturday's Story. My heart has been yearning this week as though the Lord is speaking to me. It was like one word begins to echo over and over in my heart. It is the word integrity. I looked it up. Mr. Webster says it's a state of being whole and undivided for standing for what is right. One of the greatest attributes that must be displayed in this hour is integrity. The psalmist said in 25 and 21, he said, "Let integrity and uprightness preserve me, for I will wait on thee." It's integrity that's going to preserve, because remember, integrity is a value system that cannot and will not lose its value. This is a $20 bill. It's worth $20. You can wad it up. You can stomp it. You can drag it through the mud. You can deface it all you want to. But its value has not been set by you or me. Its value has been set by a higher power. And the circumstance it went through did not take away from its value. And that is what happens when integrity is a value system that will not and cannot be eroded by the circumstances it goes through. The Hebrew children, when I studied them, the fire furnace did not make the Hebrew boys. It revealed those Hebrew children. It revealed who they were. The lion's den did not make Daniel, but it did reveal Daniel to let the world know who he really was. True integrity is being who you are before and after the trial. And this brings me today to Saturday's story. His name was Lieutenant John Blanchard. He stood up from the bench and straightened his Army uniform as he stood in Grand Central Station. He looked at his watch and it was 7 o'clock. It was appointed time. His heart was racing because, you see, he was going to meet the woman that he truly loved. You see, he knew her heart, but he never seen her face. His mind went back, reliving how all of this happened. You see, he was stationed in Florida. He was stationed in Florida some 13 months before. He went to a library and found a book. He began to not necessarily read the book, but something captured him in the margins and the comment pages. It was written in a beautiful flowing handwriting. The most beautiful writings that he had ever read. It was like this woman, this young lady who wrote this, it seemed had an avenue, a way into his heart through words. And he began to realize that there was something very special about her. He looked in the front of the book and found her name was Hollis Maynell. It took him quite a while to find out where she lived, but he found out she lived in New York City. He wrote her a letter and asked if she would please communicate with him that he had found this book and he had been reading a lot of her writings, a lot of her thoughts that seemed to be like seeds planted in a fertile soil that began to grow into something more than just casual reading, but a relationship. It was then, just after he had written her the letter, that he was deployed to the European theater in World War I. He stayed there for some 13 long months. But during this time, 2 or 3 times every week or so, he would receive a letter. Oh, these letters were so moving. These letters were like incubations of something inside of him that he began to develop strong feelings toward Hollis Maynell. He knew this was more than just some casual correspondence. he asked her for a picture, but she said, no, if you have to have a picture to like me, then if you don't like me for who I am, by looking at me will not determine how much you really like me. So he knew her heart, but had never seen her face. And so all of this had happened, and he had planned to meet her, and here he was. Here he was now. He was at Grand Central Station, about to meet the very love of his life. He was standing there. It was 7 o'clock. He had the book in his hand now. He was going to present her with this book when suddenly he looked, and through the crowd came the most beautiful woman he'd ever seen. She had on a green chiffon dress. Her hair was silken blonde and curled. It seemed to wrap around her beautiful complexioned face. He had never seen a woman so beautiful in all of his life. She walked real close. He could even smell her perfume. And she said, "Going my way, soldier?" He just turned to take a step in her direction when his heart sank. His heart sank because she had written him that you will know me because I'll have a rose in my lapel. And when he looked at this beautiful woman, there was no rose in her lapel. He was so torn because he took a step in that direction. And see, at this point, no one would ever know, really. Who would know? Who would know about a commitment that he had made in all the correspondence for all this time? But yet he would know. No, then he turned and he saw the rose in the lapel of a woman. She was not very trim. Her ankles were swollen, seemed like in the low-cut shoes that she was not tall. She was overweight. Her hair was gray. She had on a hat that was pressed down up on her gray hair. She was not ugly, but his heart sank as he looked back in the direction of the woman in the green chiffon dress as she was looking at him as he looked at her, and it was as though he was torn. What do I do? But then he remembered. He remembered his commitment. He remembered how he felt. No, it may not be love at first sight. It may not be love at all, but it would be a warm relationship that I've developed with this woman, and so I'm not going to give that up. So he walked up to her, and he said, "Hollis Maynell, I'm Colonel Lieutenant Blanchard. I would like to take you to dinner tonight." And she looked at him and said, "Son, I don't know what's going on here, but a lady gave me this rose and put it in my lapel and told me that if you invited me to dinner, to tell you that she was waiting across the street from the airport at the coffee shop. You might have seen her. She had on a green chiffon dress and had blonde hair and blue eyes as blue as the heavens." John Blanchard looked and said, "I love coffee, I love coffee, I love coffee, I love coffee." He hugged her and said, "Thank you so very, very much." You see, the true nature of a heart is seen in its response to the unattractive. The true nature of an individual is how will I respond in situations that don't seem to be favorable toward me. You tell me who you love, and I will tell you who you are. That's why the love of Jesus to me is greater than anything that I've ever known. It reaches deeper than any sin stain. It reaches higher than heaven's throne. It's the love of God. You see, let's stay true to that integrity, because if you do, it'll bring you the love of your life, and God will direct your steps. Thank you today for listening to Saturday Story.